Righty then, final Premier League game of the 2024 season, and it ain't great. I'll be honest with you. Manchester United come into this on the back of a win against Newcastle, but ultimately the season is fizzling out. This now is get through it, get ourselves ready for the FA Cup final, and see if we can salvage some sort of pride before the end of the season. And it's not the best of places going to Brighton to play a fancied team that's struggled with some injuries that they've had this year. They've had a real up and down season. And interesting, like when you look at what Evan Ferguson was being touted as going for last season, the season he's had this year. I think he's been injured for bits of it, but still, interesting the way that's gone like that. And that's why you want to see consistency over a couple of seasons before you know, they were talking 100 million for him last year, weren't they? And see if you can replicate it. I mean, I still think about it, honestly. You might even get him for a good price if you went in now. Anyway, how do they play? Well, De Zerbi throughout his career has always looked to play front foot aggressive kind of football, regardless of the opposition. The key principles that he likes are look to exploit where the space is, and Brighton look to go fast in behind high pressing teams, but often relax with the ball, waiting for the right moments when a team sits back. And I like that. I think that's a very sort of logical way to play football. Is there space? Get into the space. Have they denied us the space? Let's compress, let's relax, and let's wait for the space. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think I like it. Another principle that they go with is trying to create numerical advantages. So if you can't create space, you can create overloads. And again, love it. They look to go 3v2 in an area or 2v1 in a situation. And even though, you know, it's through those things that they progress the ball through opposition lines, they try and use the goalkeeper in possession to get that extra man. You know, in your half of the pitch when playing out, it is going to be 11v10. Can you find the extra one in all of that? That's essentially what they're trying to do. Now, De Zerbi and Brighton's biggest, in my opinion, tactical strength is the build-up, that low build-up. Brighton love the 4-2-2 kind of formation. They build up with 7. They keep it a back 4, the 2 holding midfielders in a 1-4 shape, a 1-4-2 shape. Wingers stay high and wide, and then 2 number 10s kind of position themselves between the opposition backline and the midfield line. And because most teams defend in a 4-4-2 sort of shape, the position of the number 10s forces the opposition centre-backs to make a decision. If they push up, the space behind them that opens up, and that gives the wingers 1v1 on angles to be able to come in against the fullbacks. And if they don't push up, the number 10s are in space in front of the back line, and Brighton should be able to play through the press. And it's forcing other people to make decisions, and I like it. Some teams try and solve that by dropping one of the strikers into midfield to create a 4-5-1 sort of look to it. Then it gives them a numerical advantage against the number 10s. When you do that, though, it gives them a numerical advantage against the opposition pressing line, which then enables them to play through. So it's chess, because he goes, right, I'm going to move there. What are you going to do? Are you going to deal with that, or are you going to protect this? And it makes them make a decision. And it's commendable. I've got to give him that. Dropping even more players in and around, can stop Brighton from creating goal-scoring opportunities from that low build-up, but they will easily beat the press and then get into their sort of high build-up where they're going to have more patient, more established sort of possession. So pick your poison. Do you want to get beaten on the halfway line and let them run in behind? If you've got strong, fast fullbacks, you might go, let's play roulette, baby. Like, see what happens. But you are going to make a decision. Are you going to defend high, or are you going to defend low? Because you're going to be forced into doing one. You can't be strong in both areas. You're going to have to go, okay, we'll be strong in this one and give them that and see how it goes. This year, the way they've done it in the final third has changed slightly. Last season, it was very much a 2-3-5. This season, it's more like a 3-1-5-2. Does that add up? Yeah, that adds up, doesn't it? He likes having only one wide player in the high build-up. That's because he likes to prioritise trying to play it through the middle, and he needs one player high and wide to pull the back line apart. If like that was what I was trying to say about when I was talking about what England may or may not do. When England have got Harry Kane coming off, Saka coming to feet, and then Phil Foden coming to feet, as a defensive line, you get to go, sweet, push, and we'll try and play the offside trap. And then you get them 25 yards away from your goal, and they're not a threat. Like, you have to have people that will threaten in behind and wide. If they're coming in narrow and to feet, it's so easy to defend. So Brighton always leave someone high and wide, and they go, just, you stay there, because it keeps the rest of the defence honest. Defensively, Brighton do put a lot of value in being aggressive without the ball, and that shows up in their high pressure. Brighton will usually go man-to-man and vigorously press the opposition, and they do that because the principle of being the team controlling the tempo means that they want to have possession. Again, like it. I like the principles that De Zerbi goes with. They're very simple. They're not simple or easy. They're simple, but they're not easy to execute. But I like the logic of it. We're going to play with overloads. We're going to look to try and exploit the space. If they deny us the space, we will be patient. Then we'll look for overloads. Once we've got the overloads, we will get our shots off. It's fantastically simple. They'll try and win the ball high up the pitch, because then they can just revert straight back to their shape that they're in, exerting pressure in the final third. And it's very simple like that. Now, because they'll position so many players centrally, it does give them that numerical advantage in midfield. It gives really nice conditions for defensive principles. Lots of players close to the ball after losing possession means that they can work together to win the ball back and then retain possession. And that's another reason why I think De Zerbi likes to have a lot of people in that kind of defensive core. Starman. It's a little bit of a shock with this one, probably. I think it will be Adringa. I think he's looking lively and probably one of the most threatening players at the moment. I think he's quick. I think he's raw. I think he's got a little bit of a sneaky eye for a goal. And I think when you've got a team that's full of like really aesthetic sort of technicians, he offers something a little bit different. And I think he'll be the danger. For Manchester United, the starting 11 I'm going to go with, I am tailoring towards, let me see what we're going to do in the cup final. And that Ten Hag should be using this as motivation. Like, United season can't fizzle out. You've got a cup final to play for, and actually, you can win it, right? We're certainly far from favourites, but you can go and win the FA Cup, and you can finish the season on a relative high. I would be trying to implement that into them in any way possible. And how we do it is you go with what you think can start the FA Cup final. You go, fitness. Listen, if you ain't fit for this, you're probably not going to be fit for the FA Cup final. And the team I would like to see in the FA Cup final is as follows. Wan-Bissaka right back, Dalot left back, Martinez and Johnny Evans. That's our best available defence right now. Martinez and Johnny Evans. We can't rely on Martinez in the final if we can't rely on him against Brighton. Now, he said it was too soon for him to start against Arsenal. Okay, he's going to have to start before the FA Cup final. You can't just start him against City and go, he'll be sound, don't worry about it. So, Martinez, obviously an in net, Johnny Evans. Now, there's some people saying, oh, go Maguire or Varane. No. Johnny Evans. Midfield trio. Amrabat, Mainu Bruno, Ahmad, Højlund and Rashford. There's been a lot of negative press around Marcus at the moment, and he has had a shit season. Let's have it no two ways. But what Marcus does against Manchester City is deliver. Every time. Every time. And if you're going to try and beat Manchester City, you're going to need to do it with Marcus Rashford, right? Garnacho's had a decent season. But the way some people are talking about him is like he's the second coming of Cristiano. I think Garnacho looks burnt out. And I think what you do is you give Rashford a go. You give him the opportunity. Brighton aren't City, but the game's going to go a little bit similar in terms of the level of possession that Brighton have. So if Marcus is able to be effective against Brighton, then it'll give you the confidence to select him in the final. If he's not capable of being effective in the final, then you don't need Garnacho to be match fit. He's played more matches than he probably should have done. He is match fit. Giving him the week off to rest and recuperate and pull on his lead a little bit and fire him out in the final will work both ways. So I think there's a real kind of man management masterclass you can do here where you can make whatever you do look like the right decision if what you do is start Marcus. You start him to give him the opportunity. If he's undeniable, then he's undeniable. He plays against City. If he's not, then he's just picked Garnacho for the final. Whereas if you go with Garnacho, you know what Garnacho's going to do. You'd be wondering, would Marcus have been a better option in the final because of he's got this ability to turn up in the big games. So that's why I would go with that selection and just go, I have no idea how it's going to go. I'm not telling you he's going to be great against Brighton. I'm saying let's see, because I think that you do need him against City, but you also need an excuse to pick him. And I think Garnacho deserves and has earned a rest. So that's what I would say in terms of that. Our friends at Parimatch, thanks to them for sponsoring this preview for the entire season, are offering new customers a £5 free bet for every £5 you bet on each Premier League fixture on the final weekend. So if you're going to stick a fiver on one fixture, you get a fiver in free bets. If you put a fiver on 3 fixtures, you get 15 quid in free bets and so on. And you can do it for all 10 games, getting yourself 50 quid in free bets on all 10 fixtures. Simple as that. So you want that offer? All you got to do is create a Parimatch account, opt into the promotion, and then place a pre-match bet of £5 on odds of even or above on any of the Premier League weekend fixtures this weekend. You got to be 18, of course. UK resident. Full terms and conditions do apply. All the links you need to know are below. But huge thanks to Parimatch for sponsoring this video and all of our previews all season. So then, how do we beat Brighton? You got to be clever with the press, and actually, one of the good things in recent weeks actually has been United's press. But if you're disjointed against Brighton, it's suicidal. They are one of the best teams at baiting and playing through. You got to be good on the counter, and I would say the biggest weakness with Brighton. And this is why I think it works out quite nice for us. If you try and get your tactics right for Brighton, a lot of them will carry over to the City game in the final. De Zerbi's tactical setup is similar to Pep's in that they can be wide open on the counter, and nothing beats pace, right? You know, pace, you can't really deal with pace. You know, you got a mark on the halfway line, you're trying to play an offside trap. If someone's faster than you, they're faster than you. And because De Zerbi likes having a lot of players central and being available for offensive stuff, when they get transitioned on, they can struggle with the counter. So obviously it helps them with a counter press, but if you get through the counter press, and I think, you know, the likes of Amrabat, Mainu, Bruno, we now look like you got a bit of a player that can play through it, and having Martinez back, whether his timing's quite right in his first game back, might not be there, hence why I want to get him in this game before the final. But, you know, Martinez can go from back to front straight away, and he might be the one that starts hitting Højlund early doors rather than us having to go through midfield and play through the thirds. If you can play through their counter press, you will open them up for opportunities to transition against them. And if you do that, then it's just about being clinical when you get one-on-one with a keeper. But anyway, that's it for the preview. I'll see you after the game on Sunday. See you in a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, 5-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.